Today we're talking about transitioning from the classic LT software into LT3 Raptor. My name's Anthony. I started working in a stone shop over 20 years ago, running CNC routers and some of the early CNC saws before using these lasers to capture all kinds of jobs in the field. I've done several thousand real-world templates, and I think there's a ton of tools in LT3 Raptor that make the whole process easier. I want you to know what hardware works with LT3 Raptor, okay? All of our 2D, 3D style lasers, whether that's the 4.0 model, that's what I started on, and it had a bubble level on the top, and you'd have to manually level that, right? The 4.1 model, there's many of these out there still in use, and our current 5X, our 5th generation laser, it only works in the new LT3 Raptor platform. It's got some new features, and it's wireless, has a bunch of different benefits, but we want you to know what hardware is available to use in the new software. So we're gonna jump in and just play a quick video. LPI has been known to be the easiest way to create templates for years. Our classic LT software launched in 2004 on a Palm Pilot. It was familiar and comfortable, just like this chair. You formed to the seat, and the seat formed to you. The classic LT was built in a different era. LPI had to build a new app on a modern software platform. It's now time to get out of the old, the familiar, and upgrade. With LT3 Raptor's CAD intelligence, you get faster editing with tools like one-touch dimensions and one-touch backsplash. Automated tools like range opening capture, scribeline combine several steps and reduce potential errors. LT3 Raptor even helps you clean up minor CAD mistakes in your drawings. LPI Cloud allows teams to work faster than ever. Instantly share jobs to the office from the field. You have best-in-class documentation with job site photos, and a job chat to resolve those unexpected challenges. Customizable forms and checklists keep your customers and staff on track. Installers can upload completion photos and signatures from their phones. But LT3 Raptor isn't just for templating. We've included powerful tools to streamline the work for your CAD and programming teams. CAD/CAM export settings can be set globally for your entire team. Instantly convert your shop drawings into CNC-ready files. And automatic material offsets for CNC routers will save your programmers lots of time. Don't stay stuck in the past just because of a fear of change and being comfortable. There are dozens of reasons to make the switch. Now is the time to upgrade to LT3 Raptor. So the benefits of this template intelligence, this is what allows a lot of these speedy tools that as you're working, it will assist you with many of these repetitive tasks, right? There's a lot of tasks that we would do if we're measuring, if we're cleaning up drawings for fabrication, creating shop sheets, that we do uniquely on every single job. So there's a whole suite of features that are built in that allow us to work faster. These are some of the things that we'll talk about in today's lesson, okay? So we're gonna talk about what is totally new, right? There's LT3 Raptor has a much larger tool set, right? We won't have time to show you everything that's different today. In fact, if you were to come and spend a week with us here in training here in our main headquarters in Illinois, we wouldn't be able to get through all of the features that are available for template, the office staff, and programming, right? We do have tools for all of those roles within your team. There are times we're gonna ask you to do a couple things different than the way you used to do it. There's a good reason for it, right? We'll talk about some of that today, okay? Today we're also gonna touch on some best practices. Here's some questions that we asked in the development, right? What if we could get measuring just to be faster, right? What if there are fewer chances for human mistakes? What if you had more of those tools in touchscreen friendly buttons, right? We want to make it easier to train a new guy. We want it to be easier to share your jobs, maybe without a USB drive or out-of-date kind of email things. You're always chasing revisions, right? What if the software is able to find more of those microscopic little CAD mistakes? How about if we could share your drop-in library, all your sink and cooktop and outlet cutouts? What if you could share that across the whole team? And what if your jobs could get CNC and saw router programmed in about half the time? Okay? And maybe you want to use production decals to track the parts going through your shop and where they need to go. What if we can make those instantly, right? And other things like making it easy for installers on their mobile device to see shop drawings, to make notes and get final signatures. So today we're going to start with just taking a quick look around what does the screen layout look like, okay? So as we start the software, it'll pull up a big list of your jobs. We call this the home screen, right? If you're going to make a new job, you click here. If you need to search a job, you can type in a job name or job number here. You also have an ability to search or filter jobs that are next for your step in the process. Okay? One of the ways we track each job throughout its life cycle and minimize those revisions is with the job status. You see this on the right-hand side. And there's three little dots at the very little edge. You can edit your job by clicking there. You can edit, duplicate, and do some quick shortcuts right there in this main home screen menu. As we get into the main templating interface, to start up at the top, we've got a button that brings you back to the home screen, right? So as I'm editing and finishing a drawing, before I close the app, I like to go back to the home screen. It just kind of buttons up and kind of closes out that file, right? As we navigate between different pages, right? Every time I pick up the tripod, move to a new room, I'd use the page menu, right? We create new pages, duplicate pages. Another reason to have different pages is for each plane. If I measure the countertops in this room, and then measure a full height splash on this wall and that wall, we'd have a page for each of those planes, okay? Other things that we want to look at is as we go on to the right-hand side, in the classic software, we have that big row of buttons. Well, now how this works is as you click on each of these main buttons, you get we call this, the action bar technically, right? As you click on each of these, it opens up a panel with a bunch of tools in there, okay? And then as you pick the tools you're going to want to work in, you'll want to pick the color. So the color, to actually pick it, to select it, we actually pull that out of the side. It becomes faster for a few different reasons. We'd select that right here. Now, another thing that I used to do in the old app many, many thousands of times is if I go back into a tool like Offset, and I need to change, let's say, if I want to keep the original line or not, right? That used to bring a big pop-up right in the middle of the screen, right? Instead of it being in the way and covering your drawing, it's up at the top. We have these tool options, right? In this bar, they're always accessible, and they're not in the way, right? So as you're using the software, I want you to get that flow of going through each of those functions there. Something else that was great in the classic software, if you're new to it, there were directions on some of those steps. So that's right under the toolbar. This software will tell you what to do as you're getting used to the tools, okay? So that's just a general layout of how you navigate some of these buttons, okay? Now what I want to talk about is just how to think about it, right? I'm kind of a visual person, right? I like a visual analogy, so I think of those primary buttons on the side as a big toolbox, right? And each drawer has a different set of tools, right? In my toolbox in my garage, I've got a drawer with wrenches and sockets and hammers and so on and so forth. Well, LT3 works in a similar way, okay? You're gonna open that drawer, you have a big finger-sized button to click on that tool to navigate, instead of what I used to do, it felt like 100 times a day, is draw a one-point line and have to find a tiny little button that was smaller than my fingertip, okay? So this is a fast way to navigate through the software. Now, it's gonna feel a little different than what you used to do. And when I changed over, right, it took me a little bit to get used to it. So here's a trick that we found that kind of works to kind of change your muscle memory. We want you to get faster. First, open the drawer. Next, you'll select the tool. Then I want you to pick your color and then review those tool options, right? I want you to follow that process over and over again. Step 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you follow that process, it starts to get easier, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but while you're getting used to the new application, I want you to think of being a rock drummer, right? These are, as far as I'm concerned, some of the greatest drummers of all time. I want you to practice being a drummer in that first few weeks as you transition over to the software. It's how you get faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll be flying in no time, okay? Next, we're also gonna talk about setup. This is just general practices, okay? Every time we set up in a new area, this is a framework we like to teach new people to get consistent results, okay? I want you to clear everything off that measure area, okay? Yes, I know you can shoot a laser between somebody's toaster and coffee machine and all those things, but at the end we're gonna pull a tape measure and verify our dimensions. It ends up being easier to clear everything off and place your targets, right? So we wanna prep the area. Next, after you start up your laser and the system is all connected and you pull the 2D lock, you can now aim up and down. I want you to aim the laser around the room and make sure the laser has the best view of the space. Before we set the plane, before we capture any points, we still can pick up the system, move it a little bit, and get a better point, okay? If I move a little closer to the range opening, in this case, I don't need targets, and I still can see everything I would need compared to if I was over here, okay? So once you do a dry run of that laser, just around the room, then we'll set a proper plane, okay? We have 2 approved ways to set a plane, either using blocks, right? You'll have blocks that either look like this, or maybe they look like this, and you'll need 3. These are our newer ones, these are our older ones. These are just a little easier to see if they're far away, okay? We're either gonna have you use blocks or a level laser, right? This is one we've been selling on our website for a number of years. You set this up, it'll auto level, and you could shoot this level line out in space, right, around the room and set that plane, okay? If you got other techniques you're using, ask us. Chances are, we're gonna say, yeah, we found that's inconsistent and doesn't work, okay? I want you to either use the blocks or set your plane by pointing your laser dot on a level laser to get an accurate, consistent plane. Right now we're talking about level planes. When you do a vertical plane, we got some other techniques we talk about there, okay? So, when you set up, we want you to prep the area, position the laser, and set a proper plane, okay? These are the 3 Ps for proper setup. Okay, with all that, let's go ahead and jump in and start our demo. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, just wanna give you a quick tour of the room that we've got. So I wanna go full screen so you can see it for a minute. For most of the demo, I'm gonna go on to our software. The assumption is if you're in this training, if you've used the classic LT, you already know best practices on how to avoid reflection, You probably know how to set a plane correctly. We've already got targets set up. I'm gonna start on this side. I've got 2 T targets set here, and we'll work around the room this way. I'll capture cabinets first, then I'll work around this way, capturing the walls. We've got a feature where we're gonna capture a range opening. Okay, there's a tool in there we're gonna show you. I'll capture a center line. We'll check our dimensions and then do some editing, all right? So we're gonna switch over to the screen on the tablet right behind me. So this is our home screen, okay? And you can see this is a list of jobs. I might have a job name here. We've got the job numbers, and we have several different statuses of these jobs as we go through, okay? I also want to point out down at the bottom, we have training resources and things like that. You can click on these. There's a number of links that'll take you right to YouTube channels, content like that, right? So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go over to the left-hand side. We'll click on New Job. Now, I have not turned on the laser yet. If you're using a 4th generation laser, the 4.0 with the bubble level on top, or the 4.1 that I'm using right now, if it's a wired laser, we don't need you to plug it in right when you launch the software. We actually want you to wait until you get into the job, right? I often would get to a job, especially a remodel, and I'd open a job, start putting in details or notes and material, all those things. I'd save the job, close it, reopen with the laser connected. So this is just a little quicker if you like to work that way. So starting at the top, I'm gonna put in a job number. We'll just use today's date. Here's where I can select that job status. This is where you see those color chips along the right-hand side. It is possible, we have many fabricators where the office is pre-building the jobs, okay? With all the job details, such as material names and all that, okay? We're gonna hit add. Like this creates the job and it'll bring us into the screen. Now, we're gonna set the plane. We see our familiar 1, 2, 3, right? Up at the top, it says it's searching for the laser. This is the time where I will make sure the 2D lock is engaged. I actually want to zoom in. If anyone is newer to the system, I'm going to take just a minute and bring in a camera and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. This system, if it has a wire, this pin has to be locked and engaged. If it is not, when you start up the system, you will not get as accurate of measurements, okay? If you start up the system and it's like this, it'll warp and twist your drawing a little bit. So that's got to be engaged at startup. I'm going to press the button, turn on the laser. When you plug in the tablet, often you'll hear a little chime, okay? The software detects the laser and it wants us to double check. The 2D lock is in. I like to make sure everything's all squared away and good. We'll hit continue, and this is doing the system startup. Now we're ready to capture. So I can pull that little pin. Now we can aim up and down. I do already have targets set up, but this is the time where you're free to move the laser around the room and make sure you have a good, clean point. I actually might move just a little bit this way. All right. We're avoiding reflection and those issues, okay? Once we've got a good position of the laser, now we'll set a plane. So sometimes these points are behind me in a U-shaped kitchen like this. I want to spread those blocks out as much as possible. Okay, I'm actually going to come in full screen camera for a second, okay? So I've got a really bright green laser just so hopefully it's visible in the camera, okay? As we move around the room, often instead of, well, I'll put it this way. I want the points to be as large as possible. So I'll shoot 1 here, 2 over here, and 3 anywhere over here. We find that that works better than trying to shoot 3 points that are close together. Let's say just on one cabinet, Okay, you'll get a little bit better accuracy if you spread those out. From the view of my laser, I'm aiming this way, and we're just going to obviously get the system to capture right along that top line. It's the height that matters in this case. So all we do is tap on the screen to capture our first point. Okay. Then we'll move over to point 2, which I have over by the dishwasher panel. And again, I'm just shooting along that top line. And now I have a target block on the back for that third point. So what we've just done is we've established that plane in space. Okay, just for a quick visual reference. Okay. This is the software's understanding of where we're measuring. It sets the perspective of the laser relative to the area that we're measuring. We've established the plane is moving in this way, right? If we were to measure a full height splash, our plane would work here, and we would have one here. Each of those would be on a separate page, okay? Now that we are ready to start shooting, we're gonna navigate across this row of buttons, right? So we're in the drawer for capture tools. I like to start with a single point that is across, right? So I'm gonna line up right on my sync center point, just right here. We'll tap in the middle drawing area and we capture one point in space. That cross is just a little icon. That's in CAD, that is a point. Okay. Next, we want to capture lines. The drawer's still open, I just need to hit line. We're going to work in cabinet color. And over here, we have different capture modes. Continuous is kind of the most traditional. I'm going to switch to auto fillet. There's not a technical reason, other than it's just a little faster for me in this layout. Okay? So I'm aiming at the back of the dishwasher panel. Tap to capture the first point. We got the second point. I'm coming to the front face of the sync run now. Point 1, point 2. Now I'm going to just go straight across the range run. This is a relatively straight run of cabinets. So I'm just going to capture it as it is, straight across in this situation. If the range cabinets aren't quite straight, I would capture each one individually. And we're at the peninsula end. Now I'm shooting the T targets that we have set up over there. Shooting the back of the peninsula. So now we're starting to see the basic shape, the basic layouts coming together. Another thing I like to do is shoot the inside of a sink box. Anywhere where I get cutouts, want to make sure sinks, cooktops, all that stuff fits. I'm going to hit start new auto fillet at the top. And really simply just shoot a few points just so we get a general idea of how much space we have to work with. I really started doing this a lot more when the dual mount sinks started showing up, okay? I'm gonna pause for a second. KS, you have a question?
Yeah, my name is Keith. Just real quick, can you show me how to rotate this drawing within the page? Like typically on the legacy software, you could just tap a line, hit rotate, tap a line, and it will square the actual template within the program. Can you show me how to do that?
We definitely will, okay?
Okay.
In fact, no, this is, you're bringing up actually a great point, and this actually was a curveball for me in the beginning. In the legacy software, if you didn't hit rotate religiously as you work, you're getting mistakes, right? So we're gonna find as we do this demo, and as you get to use the software, yeah, you can rotate, but it's less important. Especially there's a little bit of speed to it because it's built into many of the tools. But for the reason when you're training a new person to template, They will have fewer mistakes, especially that first 6 months that they're working. Because the reason for doing that is built into many of the functions, right? So we'll see that very soon. Okay, great question, right? So far we've got cabinets. I've got the inside of my sink base cabinet. We're still gonna capture. I'm faster on touchscreen, but I want to use a mouse so you can see what I'm pointing at. Capture, line. If I'm done capturing the cabinets, I'm going to switch to the wall color. Notice these are big finger-sized buttons here. Okay? Autofill is not what I'd want to use on walls, so I'll turn that off. We want to be in continuous mode. I'm going to come up to the wall. Again, I'm right by the dishwasher end panel and shoot some points. Now, many of our users report that this is just a little peppier and faster. If you're on a pretty old tablet, that's less likely to be the case, but the way the laser actually connects with the software is a more modern Bluetooth connection. And I'm going to get close to the corner and stop at about 3 inches out. So this might be obvious for many of you, but I just want to touch on it for those that are new. And we're going to punch into the little mobile camera here. I've got a laser dot and we're about 3 inches outside of that corner. Okay, we just captured that point. I want to come right into the corner. I don't want to see reflection on one side or the other. Hit right in the corner to capture the detail of the drywall tape and mud that's in there. Tap to capture, and then we'll come about 3 inches out of the corner again. All right, this is something that installers really notice, right? So I'll pop back to the screen. You can see we capture that corner. I don't hit start new line. We just keep on rocking and rolling throughout that process. I'll shoot along the wall. We'll come to the other side. I used to hit start new line in the classic software. I actually just continue the line across the back of a range opening in this case. You'll see why shortly. Okay, we got a general wall capture that just took a minute. New feature that I really love. Many of you are going to know when we capture a range opening, there's a few steps, and yes, we'd have to rotate to this line. It's technically not perfectly straight right now, okay? But we're going to capture an opening. The edges of my opening, I want them to be flat polished. For the appliance edge, okay? We can set the width to whatever we'd like here. There's a little shortcut for 30. Here's the mode. We just want width. There's other tools we can review with you in one-on-one trainings, and we have other videos about this. And the software is telling us the steps to follow. Step 1, select the front edge to base the opening off of. We want that opening to be square to this line. So we tap to select. Right? And it's highlighted blue, okay? Then the software tells us the steps, capture the 2 points. Doesn't matter if we shoot on the right or the left. I'm starting on the left, and we get a point there. Now we'll come to the style or the edge of the face frame on the right-hand side. And I want you to watch, as we capture, the template intelligence is going to take that point, draw square off that cabinet edge, and fill it to the wall line. We didn't hit rotate specifically, but we did when we selected the line in the beginning of the process, okay? Now, what's fun about this is I'm going to come into the View menu at the very top, View, and we're going to turn on the laser measured or capture points. Now, we have enough room. Here's our laser point. This is going to create a perfectly 30-inch wide opening that's square to the front edge. It's giving us an even overhang or even reveal on each side. All right. I'll hit best fit. We're going to turn off the laser captured points. And I want to show you a new tool, still in capture. We're going to come down to center line. What I used to do is shoot across, rotate to my sink, run front edge, and then go drop in, drop in the center line, and after I do my overhangs and all that, I'd have to extend to that front edge. Well, we're just gonna hit, center line. I wanna select the line that we want it square to. The direction I wanna go, which is up into the countertop, or in this case it was to the right, I line up my laser dot. It happens to be right on that initial cross that we shot, okay? And we tap to capture. And that one tool, in just a few taps, compresses what used to be several steps. And you'll also notice that center line has a longer bottom segment line that will automatically intersect with your front edge, right? At least a reasonable front overhang edge, okay? We didn't hit rotate yet, which feels kind of weird, right? But that is also square to that front edge. Okay. So now I want to talk about edge detection. What is edge detection, right? We have all these different line segments. And when we fillet corners, traditionally you would have to pick this line and then this one. Otherwise, one of these lines would carry over and you'd get a double line over here. But we're going to fillet. I'm going to pick the wrong line, okay? Traditionally, it was the wrong line. It's not wrong anymore. The software will follow the edge. These line segments, the software understands, is a connected edge. When we pick this line, it will follow to the last line segment. We could pick what was traditionally the wrong line here. Click here. It grabs the correct segment. So now we're ready to check our raw dimensions. I'm going to come into the distance, the drawer of distance tools. This is how we check our measurements. It doesn't apply permanent notes into our shop sheet and our drawing, but this is just how I'll quickly view everything. If I hit dimensions, traditionally the old software would give you all these little dimensions, and that wasn't really useful. I'd have to go point to point and pull a dimension from corner to corner. If we hit dimensions now, because of edge detection, it'll quickly add all of these up on each of the walls. So now it's quicker for me to grab my tape, walk around the room, make sure that corner hits the target I shot on this end, check the peninsula length. Every job I shoot, I'm going to check. I want to be confident that what I captured matches reality, okay? Now, another thing I'd like to check is the center line. Well, there's a cool tool here in distance called parallel. I'm going to pick on the center line, and then we can pick this line, and that's just a fast way to check that dimension. We also could, while we're in parallel, pick the center line and the wall. You can see it just really quickly shows the endpoints of the first line we select, and we could check that dimension really quickly. So once we're satisfied with all that, we'd start editing our drawing, okay? I'm going to pause and see if anyone has questions so far about setup, about some of the capture tools, setting a plane, any of that. Yes. Go ahead.
I hate to ask this question again, but no, that's great. I understand how you can select a line, it'll draw, it recognizes that by selecting a line, it will draw a 90-degree perpendicular line to that selected plane, but I'm still wondering, is it possible to physically rotate this drawing on the page? And the reason that I ask that is that, you know, and maybe this is because you've been so used to using the legacy software.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I do a lot of drawing, a lot of editing and manual drawing. And so, for example, when I'm looking at this shape right now, I see the right-hand L that is slightly racked. If I wanted to just simply draw a line off of that, I would have to select a line and draw a line, and it'll always be racked in the page. I will never be able to. I guess I'm looking at speed. If this was square within the program, I could simply just draw any line anywhere I wanted, and it would be a 90, 180, 0, or 360 within the program, creating a 90-degree angle. Whereas now, if I was to draw a straight line, I would end up with either obtuse or acute angle from what
Correct.
I
Correct.
drew.
Absolutely.
And so I was wondering, is there a button on this?
Yes.
Or am I just to hit it and rotate it?
So we'll show you the rotate.
I'll
I'll show you that next. And then I'm going to be kind of annoying. I apologize. I'm going to unrotate it and show you how more than one way to skin the cat. Okay?
Sure, I think I might be looking at this from the perspective of historic legacy, and I'm gonna.
Of course.
That's
okay.
And I'm here to learn.
It's all good.
And I had these same questions when I first saw the early versions of the software. Totally reasonable, right? You care about being accurate. You want to see the tool set that's necessary to create quality work. And so we'll show you a couple things. I'm going to actually move my little icon, my little video piece up a tiny bit. Down in the very bottom corner, there is a rotate button. There's one rotate button. The old software, I'd have to go to View and rotate a specific number of degrees, right? And then rotate on the sidebar to align a geometry to either be level or plumb on our screen. So what I think is kind of nice, if we tap on rotate, right here, it pulls up this little slider, okay? So all I do is tap on that and kind of drag up and down. It'll spin the drawing freely. And so if we want to draw off of the sync run, okay, I just tap on that line, it's now level. If I wanted to draw off the range run, I tap there. Okay. So I think it's faster and more intuitive to spin, rotate, and align kind of with one integrated tool. Okay. When it comes time to draw a straight line off of another geometry, if we didn't rotate, there's a tool that can draw things square, which is kind of neat. So I'll show you that shortly here as well. Okay. I'm going to be kind of annoying and skew our drawing for a minute. And this, in my brain, kind of gave me a headache for about 1.5 years. But intentionally, I'd be showing people you can draw out a square, okay? This kind of makes my template spidey sense kind of twitchy. All right, it's probably doing that to some of you on this call as well. To start editing the drawing, often at this step, I open my quick action panel, okay? And we have quick actions pre-built. I'm going to kind of save it for a minute because really I want to show you how to navigate around, okay? So often we'll go into offset. We can offset a line just at one end, effectively rotating a line. We can offset a single element. So on a scribed wall like this, that would just be one segment. We can offset a whole edge, offset polygons, and split shape. Usually I'll bring up the element tool for an 1.5 inch overhang, okay? There's kind of a little handy calculator in here. If I want 1.25 inches, I just hit 1 and then 1/4 and it would add that on there. We could add as we want there or hit mode and even subtract. So it's designed to be friendly for those of us that started with a tape measure and we know fractions. But it does give you a little hint over here. If you want to learn your decimal conversions, it's up here in gray. All right, so I'll hit clear, 1.5. And if that's something we use a lot, I hit the little star. It's in this mini shortcut, okay? So offset, element, finished, and our tool options, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Click the line, the side of the line that we want that to go. I'm actually going to be quicker if I use the touchscreen. Bam, bam. Over here, let's pretend we have a big overhang. I'll type in 10. There we go. Now we'll fill it, right? Fill it sharp, that's what I'm going to do most often. Okay. Fill it again using on the back wall kind of methodology there. I'm actually going to make a purposeful mistake. Pick the wall, any segment I want, it'll trace up to the corner, connect some corners there. Okay, so we're starting to get more of a closed shape, but this is a good spot where I'm intentionally going to pause and show you what's called job check. See this little alert symbol? If I click on the page menu, this is not a closed shape. Our job check is continuously checking the software. So if you used to, I used to do this all the time. I had to know my square footage at the end of each job, right? I'd have to go into display polylines and start hunting for any mistakes sometimes, right? Mistakes meaning little itty bitty line segments or gaps or double lines, all that stuff. Job check, if we hit this, right? This is like a spell checker for our drawing, right? I'm better at shapes than I am with spelling, so I'm grateful for a spell checker in text messages and emails. And oh, by the way, the spell checker works in here, so my notes have less spelling mistakes now, right? The software's tracing around the drawing and it's telling us, hey, there's an element fillet issue. If I pick this, not always, but often the software will give a suggestion. See how it's kind of highlighting around? And it's showing us that connected corner. If we hit fix now, it fixed it for us, okay? Now this works because the software understands our CAD layers. The template intelligence works because the software understands the difference between a cabinet layer, which is really just a reference. It knows we need to measure them, but it's not looking at them as far as closed shapes. But we need to have a group of connected walls and finished edges to create a closed shape. Seams have to start at one end of a closed shape and end at another, right? We have mitered edges. It understands the differences between these CAD layers, which we simply call colors. But because there's meaning attached to them, we call them edge styles, right? Now, another thing I used to have to do hundreds of times, thousands of times, is I used to go around and put a little piece of text on every single edge. And depending on the shop that I was working with, that was producing it, it'd be little X's on the finished edges and little W's along the walls, FP at the flat polish, or maybe an AE for appliance edge. In fact, there are some shops that they would use CNC router tooling codes, right? So if this was a 3 centimeter eased edge, I'm putting T30, T30, T30. If it was bullnose, V like Victor, V30, 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 and they'd apply that tooling, right? Tons of text, okay? That is all built in to the information on each of these edge styles. Remember, they're CAD layers with meaning and additional information attached to them. So I typically have it off in this drawing, but I'm gonna come to view and turn on what we call counter edge labels. And we see the little X's and the little W's and the FP's all just kind of show up. They're in there the whole time, it's just whether or not we view them. In your shop sheets, in your stone tags, in your CAD exports, you can turn edge labels on and off independently in each of those exports. So a lot of the CAD programmers love this because they were taught to get your DXF file in, they bring it in with the CAD colors, and they'd go label, 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 right? If the templater didn't do it, programmers label, 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 and then take all the CAD layers, wipe them out, and turn them green or whatever, and whatever that workflow is. Some of the CAD people love this, okay? Because it's saving them time. So I'm gonna turn off edge labels for a minute, but I just wanna point out this extra information that's in there. Okay, so that's off for a second. Let's add some splashes real quick. Let's pretend we got a 4-inch splash that's going in on this job. Okay, I'm gonna come into the draw menu. Sorry, lift my mouse at the desk. Come back over here. Okay. Draw menu has a whole bunch of tools. Most often we draw a line, that's the default, okay? Actually, before I do splash, we're gonna tweak this line. Keith, you had a question about this not being square, so let's take a quick look at this. I'm gonna go to distance, turn our angles. It's kind of close to 90, but it's not 90. Okay, we haven't rotated. Just to make it really easy to see in the video, I'm gonna take this and make it a different color. Let's go really bright orange. So we have a lot of contrast there, okay? So this is not square, okay? It's actually a little proud in the back, okay? So if we wanted to, if I go back to my active color being finished, if we draw a line, traditionally we had 1 point angle and 2 point. There's a new one called 1 point perpendicular. I love this tool. What line do I want to be square to? This one. I don't want to draw off the front, I want to draw off the back. I want to go this way. Okay, this will square up that edge. Just a little, but enough to matter. I'll also, let's put a radius on here just for fun. Radius, 1 inch, okay? Color doesn't really matter on this one. It's going to pull the color from whatever the first geometry is that you select. Let's put a radius here and here, okay? And I'm going to come to our angles, turn that off. I do want to just show you angle. If we go here and here, that's truly 90 now, okay? But we didn't hit rotate. You can rotate and then draw a 1 point angle at a known line. That still works, okay? There's just another way to do it. That method we just did of drawing a 1 point line, you can also capture a line off of 1 point, square to something else on your screen. That's super useful, okay? Yes, question?
Yeah, sorry I keep on asking a bunch of questions. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's good.
Yeah, no, that 1 point perpendicular, that's an awesome tool. Yeah, my question was, drawing a line segment in the old LT software, you would see if you wanted to just go a simple point to point, just line segment. And I was just wondering, I didn't see that function in the toolbar, and I was wondering if that's new.
That does exist. Good question. Okay. So draw segment. There's not a segment function on that sidebar anymore, but you can draw 2 point lines. Let me just give you a quick navigation. Unfortunately, I can't go through all the tools. I'm going to try and hit some of the major ones today, but if we go to draw line, 2 point line, we could go wherever you want like that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yep, that's a simple way to do it. That answered my question. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. And as you navigate through the buttons, definitely practice this. Like, you know, this is where I started. I measured a traditional way first in the classic LT, and I restarted my computer, restarted the laser, and then I started playing with this app. Just like, where's this? Where's this? And that's totally natural. Okay. Next, I do want to draw some splash. Right. So let's get over here, and I'm actually going to pull my little video piece down out of the way of some of our buttons. Okay, here we go. So in the draw menu, we have a whole bunch of useful tools. I want to draw a splash or miter. Okay, traditionally we'd use 2 point. I'd go here, I'd have to tell it to stop here and go this way, right? Which is fine, that works great, but edge detection, I have a mouse, so it can hover. That's not gonna be your typical experience in touchscreen mode, but if we just tap here, it's detecting the edge. Okay, so let me undo. So when I'm in touchscreen mode, really, I'm just 1, 2, 3, like that. Super fast, okay? We got some splashes in. Let's do a seam line. We could do all kinds of different seams. If your shop uses CNC routers, you're probably using Euro seams, key notch. Sometimes we call that a butterfly seam where I'm kind of learned the trade. I want to point out perpendicular. Perpendicular would be square to this line, because that's my snap point. I'm closest to this line. It's just going to square up and stop at the wall. Okay. Let's do an extended seam. We have a lot of fabricators that just want to take this line and have that saw continue cutting straight. And they just hand fab or maybe set their line polisher to stop polishing at a certain point. It's just going to continue this line along. Even though these corners are not perfectly 90, we want you to know how those geometries work. So pre-built seam tools, okay? There is a point-to-point function as well. Okay, but quick seams, right? And they'll connect right here. So another feature, we have a lot of users that do this in the field, and some companies prefer to do this when the job comes back to the shop. Just stay on the same page. There's not a right or wrong on here, on this step. But we have many fabricators that have invested in a lot of equipment, and maybe they don't want to cut every single line segment if there's going to be a 4-inch or whatever splash on top. They want to straighten these cuts out. There's a lot of ways to do it, and that would be a lot of CAD clicky, time-consuming work. Well, I'm just going to show you one of these. There's a few of them. Play with it later. Watch some of the videos we have. Scribe line. I'm going to start with just these default settings. I'll pick this line and this line. I'll hit done and show you what it did. It's very subtle, but it's taking the original line and converting it into a dashed black line. And then the software is taking the actual cut wall line and cleaning it up. It's creating a straight rip from whatever the high point of this wall is, almost all the way, not all the way, because we don't want a gap here. It's using a taper. I set it at 8 inches. Why? Because that might be a convenient single blade plunge. This point did not move. So we have a line segment that's 8 inches from this point out to, from the corner, 8 inches out, and a straight rip all the way along. Again, straight rip all the way along until we get 8 inches out, and then it tapers back so you don't see a gap. The gap should only be underneath your splash. Scribe line, click on the wall, I hit done. Okay, and because the software is kind of smart, it actually shortened it. So I really have to zoom in like crazy here, but it actually shortened the seam as well. I'll hit best fit to come back out. So that's a time-saving feature that's super fast to edit and actually helps your saws cut more in less time. Maybe it's less water jet cutting if your shop uses water jet and saw combo machines. Okay. A couple other things we might do. Drop in. I have one kind of preloaded here, but something that's really nice. I have my drop-ins. These are my drop-ins on this computer, not my account on this computer. Where I tend to save most of the work is company drop-ins. Every 24 hours, this will sync across your team. If someone else, let's say a shop person, draws up a sync, I can push it on the fly with an internet connection, but it'll automatically upload. I'd pick whatever sync we want. Actually, let's go back. I like this just because I like to show what I started doing, which is showing the flange and all that stuff. I got the insertion point right there in blue. I like to put a little extra text in there, okay? There's a setback built right in. So if 4 inches is something I do all the time, I hit the little star, okay? We'll pick the snap point, okay, where the center line intersects that front edge. We want it square to this line, and we want it to go 4 inches in this direction. In a way, we didn't hit rotate. We did hit rotate by selecting the line in the steps. Let's tell the shop where to polish the splash. Some shops do this, some don't. I'm actually use the color. This is how you revise colors. I'll click on this. The default is revise. And I'll just call it a flat polish. Okay. Now this is something we do a lot. All right. I'm going to open the quick actions. Old software, there was one point where I spent a bunch of time developing all my quick actions, and I had to save it when I'm not in a real job. So I'd have to like remember, oh, this would be a cool thing to do, and I couldn't do it right while I was doing it. I had to close that job and do that later to save it. It was kind of a weird thing. Well, here, I have the tool open, which is color, revise, blue, the flat polish, kind of light cyan blue. All we have to do is hit add. All right, so even if I'm in a different tool, flat polish, we're off to the races editing, okay? Again, mine might be a little quicker in touchscreen mode, okay? So quick actions is really easy and intuitive. Most of this that you see is the default. We have a lot of users that are coming in here, wiping out pretty much everything except sharp fillet and offset 1.5 inches at the top. And then they build in order the steps that they're commonly using. And they have a little list. 1, 2, 3, 4, the little common edit tools they use. Drawing seams, splash, all those things, okay? Becomes really fast, intuitive, and you're plowing through drawings. Another thing I want to do is put some dimensions in here. If I'm putting dimensions in the shop paperwork, I'll go to label. Label edge is the tool we'll use. There's also something called specific offset, so it'll give the same offset. I'm going to use edge mode, right? And all we do is tap, and it'll give us all those dimensions. Oh wait, there's a little radius here. Actually, template intelligence follows the geometry within a certain threshold. It's going to do a virtual sharp fillet and give us that total line length. That used to be a mistake in the old one, right? If you did a radius and then pulled a dimension, it wouldn't snap to the right thing. So that's something that's a common reason to slow down or get a bad dimension, or that's just fixed and a lot easier now, okay? Okay, so there's some dimensions. I like to put one up here. The parallel dimension, I like using this as well. I want installers to know how much room did they get there. Let's also take one here, all the way to the wall. I want to keep this one. Let's bump up and have one that goes from the center line to the seam. It's kind of extra credit here, but right, those lines aren't perfectly parallel, so I'm picking the center one. That's what I would check if I was cutting out a sink, right? And I want everyone to know how much overhang they're supposed to be. Okay? I haven't hit rotate in a while. Is that bugging everybody out? I'm going to pause and see if anyone has questions about these tools so far. There are more, a lot more. Okay? Things I'll have you kind of play with as you get in here and you start messing with the software. Splash miter we did. Notch, super helpful. I used to have to draw all these little, like the cabinet panel or refrigerator panel, that little notch. It's really fast and simple to draw those now in just a few taps. If we need to split a line, okay? In fact, I could select a snap point and offset the split from the snap point, right? It defaults at 0, but it becomes really handy and useful. Spline, this is an interesting tool if you need to draw some organic shape. It'll actually, at export, convert it to a polyline that becomes machinable in CAD or in CAM. Often in CAM, you can't run splines, right? So there's a lot of cool tools here. Something that's different, I said there'd be some things that are different. One is don't power on the laser before you launch the software, wait till you're in the job. Here's another one, and we get some strong opinions about this, but I want to let you know, extend is now flipped around. This is based on customer request. Lots and lots of users didn't want the old way, which is kind of to follow AutoCAD methodology of, I'll get a pen and a pencil, right? If I wanted to make the pencil connect to this pen, in AutoCAD you pick this first, then the lines you want to extend or trim. We have many users that were requesting us follow AlphaCam. AlphaCam is a common next step in the work that we're doing. Not for everyone, but it's common. We select the line you want to change first, then the geometry you want to change it to, right? So extend is flipped, okay? So that's something that's different. We can add a radius call out. I might make that text a little bit bigger. Let's put that on maybe the inside this time, right? So we can put a radius on there, okay? So another best practice that I totally recommend is when I'm at that point where I feel like I'm finished with a drawing, okay? I like to work really hard to make sure there are as few mistakes as humanly possible in my work. And I usually have earbuds in. I have them in for the meeting today, but usually I'm blasting AC, DC, or listening to one of those drummers you saw there, right? And I'm rocking along, getting as much work as I can done. And I reach a moment where I think I'm done. I pause. I would just take a little breath, have a little mental reset, and I look at my drawing and look at the room and scan and see, is there anything I forgot that could cause a problem, okay? And I've found in my own work, oh, whoops, that almost was a mistake, okay? A number of times. So I highly recommend just doing a last look at the job. I don't know if I actually talked about the reference cross. Did we do that? Remember I shot a point in the beginning, and then we shot the center line? I'm actually going to zoom in on that quite a bit. By shooting that point in the very beginning and the very end, another thing I like to check is we go to distance and points. How close are those points? Oh, 23 thousandths. I'm pretty confident we didn't bump the laser, 21 thousandths, depending on the snap point we use, okay? I still get a tape out and I'm checking lengths and perimeters, right? But there's a number of times at job sites, especially like the remodel world, where like customers have dogs running around, they're super excited to meet you and your laser, right? Wagging tails of Great Danes and German Shepherds, right? I've kicked a couple of my jobs when I only needed 2 more points. Commercial jobs, you have a lot of tradespeople walking around, and you know, I get on a phone and answer somebody's question or something, and I start pacing, and I turn around, there's an air hose from a finished carpenter or an extension cord dragged across the tripod. Shooting a reference cross has saved me more time than I've spent, because if those 2 points are not on top of each other, the point I shot in the beginning, shoot the whole job, the point I shot at the end, if they're not on top of each other, I don't waste any time. I'm creating a new page and starting over, okay? We didn't really mention this yet, but if you are gonna move to a new room and create a new page, I'm gonna go to this page menu, and then we can create a capture page. That's where we set a plane. Or we can make a drawing page if I'm just gonna draw a rectangle, save it as a sync, all that kind of stuff, okay? We can duplicate, mirror, some of those fun things. We'll do CNC saw page shortly. So let's say we're done. It is good manners to rotate, typically to the sync, right? For your programmers, okay? If I'm done, I'm gonna pull the cord. Once we do that, at least with this system, I'm not shooting any more points. Our new system, it stays connected because it's wireless. I like to hit photos, hit capture. Something else is handy is if there's many pages in the job, I'm gonna select the page that represents the room I'm in. It really helps the folks that are at an office and not at your job site to know what room they're looking at when they get a ton of photos. Okay, I'll hit done. If there's an issue of any kind, I'll come in and maybe call out with an arrow. We can put text if we want. And in a really interesting situation, maybe I've even had a, hey, Mr. Customer, I'd like you to sign here. This cabinet's not in and you want me to do it anyway? Are you sure? And sometimes they're like, oh, okay, we'll pay that trip charge. You can come back next Tuesday. Okay, so now everything's all done. I just go to templating. I like to, there's 2 ways to do this, and I'll show you both. If we come to job properties, I could say, hey, this is whatever the steps are in our process. This is ready for the sales team. Save. As soon as we connect to the internet and we go to the home screen, this is just going to upload to the cloud, okay? The cloud's just gonna make it easy to share our jobs, right? I'm going to point out a few of the things that we can do on the cloud. LPI Cloud is really based to just make it easier to share your content across your company, okay? Spend less time exporting paperwork, share jobs quickly. A lot of companies will use a hotspot with those important jobs that need to be done right away. Some smart fabricators are even upgrading their tablets to have internet connections, like an LTE chip and data built in, right? That job status, right? Measure, ready for fab, those kind of statuses keep everyone on the same page and keep revisions under control, right? I've had it happen many times where I email off a job some years ago. Shop calls me and they want a revision to that job. I get a call a week later, oh, we cut the wrong job, because they've got 2 in their email inbox. We're just trying to get a lot of that stuff out of the way, okay? Also, you can go to lpicloud.com and download the application and install it on an Office computer, right? Lots of things we can do, forms and agreements, a lot of the settings and things you set up by your admin on that cloud, and it keeps everyone's settings unified across the team as well, okay? And we're gonna pretend now that that job is saved to the internet, right? No USB stick required. I'm gonna come over here, I've got a little coffee desk with a printer and we'll pretend an Office computer. So over here, I'm gonna hit sync. And the job we just did, it's ready. It says it's ready for sales. If I want to, we could even filter if that's all I'm looking for, right? We could, I could have just that checkbox, right? And it would show me just those jobs, right? But long story short, I'm gonna come in here, okay? Here's that job we just measured. No USB stick, no floppy drives or emails required, okay? And we could do things like change seams, update dimensions. What I want to show you is a cool little thing here. Let's come in let's name a page properties. There's actually some new features we just added recently on this. Let's pretend the job number is, I don't know, 4271 or 72, okay? We could put any page notes here, okay? We could add some notes. You could pre-build any templates of notes you use frequently. Any job issues, we could add photos, hey, the cabinets were out of level, you know, a lot of the stuff can be pre-built, and there's even a job chat, okay? But right now, I've just named the job, or this page, I'll call it kitchen, okay? So we've saved that as our page name. I wanna show you label pieces. I'll hit the 3 little dots. It's pulling the page name. I'll hit auto generate. And then we can just hover around the completed shapes. You can see Template Intelligence understands each of those shapes. And we can number all those parts with our job number and the page name and the part numbers, okay? Next, I might want to export paperwork. There's a few ways to do it. I like to export the job file. Often we don't need all of these, but I want to get a shop sheet and a job packet out. Okay, we'll come back to do CAD/CAM files. Again, I'm at an Office computer. I want to get this stuff out to our customer, out to the kitchen designer. Okay, it's automatically going to go to this when we export, right? So it's rendering out all the paperwork. It will take, now we didn't go in and put in material names and all that stuff, right? But I've got a folder with a PDF. We can click on Job Packet. And we get a summary page. It's automatically separating the pieces and throwing a bunch of dimensions on there. This is the sheet that's really helpful for installers to make sure everything's on the truck before they drive 3 hours away, okay? We got whoops, I don't need an AI assistant, sorry. I'm not trying to get Acrobat Pro. Shop sheets, photos with the little annotations and all that fun stuff that's on there, okay? So once paperwork's out, another thing I like to do is come back in here. Let's go to CNC saw page. If we had multiple pages in here, that's really beneficial. Let's separate the seams. How about 2 inches? I like to keep piece labels, page names. And in just a few seconds, it will separate all those seams. It's keeping the part numbers, erasing cabinet lines. And if we had multiple pages, it puts a page number here and lays out all those pages into one big drawing space. This is the CAD file I probably want to send to our machine workflow. So I can export that. Based on our settings, the software recalculates all the vertices, all the tech nerdy stuff to make it easier to import. Okay. I want to show one more thing. I'm going to come into print. Let's print something for this page. Let's make some countertop tags, right? We got apply rush, information. There's a few extra things you could do here. But I just want to come in and the software is going to look at the pages, okay? We could pick other different paper sizes that we might want here. I think we're going to want this one, okay? And this, if we had taken a minute to fill it out, we'd have all the cutout information, material information, all that stuff. But the software is auto-dimensioning everything here, okay? Really quickly, really simply, we're printing stone tags, okay? These are waterproof labels. The adhesive is designed to be removable. We want you to use caution, obviously, on really fragile materials, certain quartzites and fragile marbles. When in question, put some frog tape or something behind it, okay? Or you can mirror the page and actually put it on the back of the slab. But these tags can go right on, and it only took moments. The software did most of the work for us because of template intelligence. Okay? I got one more trick. If I grab this, okay, I'm actually going to pull up my camera on my phone, and if these tags are here on the countertops, installers can scan the QR code that's on that stone tag. Now, if you use your same login for LT3 Raptor, okay, I'll log into the job. I did log in before, but I've got a security layer I need to do because I'm in a support user. Okay. But the idea is generally just a quick snapshot. We could get completion photos for the installation. I could get customer signatures. We could see job site photos that were taken during the template. I can add more, pull up the drawing and check additional dimensions that weren't in the shop paperwork, all on a mobile device. So the idea here is to capture faster, edit faster, have smart geometry that makes the whole process connected and smooth and efficient, and share the information across your whole team. Okay? Next, I just kind of want to review. I want you to navigate the software and the screens quickly. I want you to be a drummer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to retrain your muscle memory of what you've done thousands of times in the old app, and you'll be navigating quickly. Best practices, some of them that we reviewed, the 3 Ps of setup. We talked about reference cross, some of the new capture tools we reviewed, some new editing tools. I like to use that job check to get the green check mark. That helps me with a larger goal of getting production-ready drawings that quickly go through the whole process as I hand off to the rest of the team. And we used LPI Cloud to quickly share and create stone tags. Okay? There is more in the software that we couldn't go over today. But I'm going to pause and ask if anyone has any other questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question about the function slab layout there was historically on the old program where you could actually move individual objects. I don't want to make you go into too many details, but does this have this capability?
Great question. Slab layout in the old software was kind of designed to do two things, which was let's draw a rectangle that represents our slab, and we'll take our pieces and move them around in that slab. Okay? So the idea of that tool has been divided into two separate tools that I think are better optimized, right? So if we go back into the software, I'm back on the first tablet. I'm actually going to exit the job. I don't like having a job edited on two computers at the same time. So I'm going to exit the job on that other computer that's connected to the printer. If I just want to move stuff around on the screen, there's a button here called Multi down in the bottom. It's like your bottom drawer in your toolbox. Okay? So this is how I move stuff around. Okay? First, you'll notice many of the functions, once we open that drawer, many of those tools are grayed out. First, we need to select something. This is designed to be touchscreen friendly. Up in the top, I want to call out there's this click each switch. This replaces and operates under the same principles as the pan switch in the old slab layout. Because if we want to drag a box, right, on touchscreen, right, we can touch and drag, okay? If I click each, now if I touch and drag, it pans or zooms, okay? And then we can select or deselect other individual geometries. Once geometries are selected, we can erase, offset, meaning move a specific distance. We can move with snap points or without, okay? If I turn that off, and we could just try to drag that out of the way, okay? I might hit undo. We can rotate a specific amount. We can rotate one entity to align with another. Group and ungroup is useful mainly when you import a DXF from a sync manufacturer. Sometimes those were grouped in AutoCAD and you need to ungroup them. If they feel locked, come in here and select everything and try and ungroup it. You can paste, and you can paste to another page. So the functionality that we see in the old slab layout, as far as I want to move stuff around and move stuff from page to page, is in here. If you were trying to actually lay things out in a slab, I'd come over here, okay? This may not be a super realistic slab dimension. Here, let's do 125 by... If I go in the nesting tool, doesn't matter which page we select, I just want to pick one, right? And the software is going to do its best job to lay these out as efficiently as possible, right? And obviously those don't fit in the same slab, but we could rearrange things if we'd like, okay? We'd probably take the splashes and move them here, but here's a superpower in this app, and we're not really going to go into depth on it today, but this can also build in automatic router offsets. So programmers in shops where they have saws and routers, we're really cleaning up the process and the speed of the workflow. And oh, by the way, view counter edge labels, it's tracking all the information on what edge label is which, okay, including seams. I hope that answers your question, right? Slab layout's been divided into two more specialized tools, each, I think, with better functionality.
Okay.
That's very, very cool.
All right. I wanted to give everyone a good foundation of information, right? But I also want to be respectful of everyone's time. Last thing I want to do is I want to talk about a few resources, right? Because we're here to help, okay? Let's go back to this screen, okay? At any point, you could always come up to help, support. Here's our phone number. Here's some things that could help you, okay? If you're in a pinch and you need help, When I was a customer, I'd call LPI. Like I did something dumb with my tablet with a software update that I was being a little adventurous, and I called up, John Nelson and Brian, all those guys, they helped me, right? So we want to help you succeed, okay? Also, if you have feedback, okay, you can come up to help, contact support team. If you have a question, this is kind of a really smart tool. If you have a question, you want to give insights on, hey, this might be a cool feature. If there's some kind of software bug you find, you can tell us your situation. When you hit send, it'll actually take a snapshot of the job, and we see it. And we can track and respond and download your job and kind of look at it on our side as well. So that's, your voice is really important to us, okay? I'm gonna go back to the home screen and point out at the bottom here, you can click on these links, okay? And this is just gonna be a quick start. So if I click on this, it's gonna take us to YouTube, right? Here's a quick start video, walks you through the basics of capture. You can watch a video or two a day, and you'll start building that practice and that muscle memory, okay? I did the same thing when I started some years ago. I watched the YouTube videos, they helped me. And we plan on having more content out in the future, including, assuming my recording and all my tech stuff worked today, we'd have this on YouTube in a few days as well, all right? Otherwise, I just want to say thank you to everyone for your time. We are grateful that you choose us as your digital capture and editing provider. We're here to help. I do want to pull up, we have other resources. Reach out to us. You can call us, watch our YouTube videos, set up one-on-one training. Before we sign off, any other questions that the team has? Often I'll hang out for a minute or two after we stop recording. If you'd like, hang out and ask a question there if you'd like. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon in trainings and at events.